Okay, today we're going to talk about the push-up. The push-up is a great exercise to work your triceps, shoulders, and chest muscles. However, if you're a beginner, the push-up might not be the most appropriate exercise to begin with. Many beginners state that push-ups may be painful on the wrists or on the lower back and or even the shoulders. If this is the case, it might be more pertinent to build up those joints and muscle groups with other exercises that don't require you to push your entire body weight through gravity. With that being said, let's take a look at a beginner push-up. So a beginner push-up begins from the knees, and this effectively takes a good portion of your body weight out of the exercise. For a standard or regular push-up, you want to begin with your hands directly underneath your shoulders and a little bit wider than your shoulder width. And now try to stabilize your back. And so you might have your hips pushed down into the ground, or similarly, you might have your hips pushed up as high as you can. What you want to do is try to move your hips forward until you basically have one line that runs between your knees and your shoulder blades. And now lower yourself down to the ground and then press back up. Going slow and controlled might seem a little bit more challenging than moving quickly, but it's safer for the joints to go slow and controlled, and you also develop more strength. I also want to cue you to engage your core. So very important through that exercise to make sure that you are stabilizing your abdomen. And I'm just beating on my stomach a little bit here to show that I'm maintaining a tight stomach. If you don't stabilize your core, that's where a lot of those pressures can go into the lower back. Okay, now just quickly, if you did find that too difficult, we can actually take that down one more step into a cobra push-up. And so no different than that yoga pose, the cobra, but we can push the chest up and down through the range of motion. And you can do 15 to 20 repetitions of this, and after a few weeks, you might find that you're ready to move into the knees. Okay, next push-up is our standard push-up. And this one is from the toes. And so you can begin in a tabletop position, push your feet out. And now some mistakes that I see with a push-up from the toes is that there is very little core stabilization. And so you might have someone who is just completely letting their hips sag to the ground, and then the push-up looks like they're suffering through, okay? Or conversely, we have a push-up where the hips are elevated too high in the air, right? And you kind of get this, almost looks like a tent, pushing through a tent. And so instead, what we want is, again, that straight line, stabilizing your core, and then dropping the chest to the ground and lifting up. And you'll notice how the body moves as one unit. So now I'll show you when you don't move as one unit, you get that bend in the back. So very important with the regular push-up from the toes that you have learned how to create proper core stabilization. Sometimes as a little preparation, I like to just do a few repetitions of the cat and camel. And so from a 4-pointed position here, 4 points on the ground, you can now push your back or stretch your back through the different ranges of motion. And after you've done the two extreme ranges, here's one extreme range, here's the other extreme range, you can find that neutral back or that neutral ground. From here, set your hands, set your toes, and you're good to go. There's never a concern with moving back one step. And so if your goal for the day is, let's say, 3 sets of push-ups, 30 repetitions each, and you're beginning from the toes on your last set, second set, even your first set, it doesn't matter. If you go from your toes to your knees, to your hips. Your muscles don't know which difficulty version you're doing. They're just pushing the body through the exercise. So for a more advanced version of the push-up, we're going to place our feet on a raised object, and that is going to make the weight experienced at our shoulders more than if our feet were on the ground. The higher you place your feet, the harder you make this push-up. And so advanced push-up here. because you're pushing your body through a greater range of motion. There we go. And so there we have it. Various versions of a push-up. A push-up is a great exercise for the upper body, the chest, anterior deltoid, triceps, but it also requires a copious amount of stabilization through the core. And so sometimes if people are missing strength in any one of those areas, you may find the push-ups difficult, and there's nothing wrong with that. Our exercises must always cater to the weakest link in the chain. Bye for now.